Hello, everyone. My name is Quisha King. Welcome to the Quisha King Show. I have such an incredible special guest. You are not going to believe who volunteered their time for me today. I'm super excited. I have with me today Dr. Ladapo, who is the Florida Surgeon General. Welcome, Dr. Ladapo.
Thanks, Keisha. Thank you. Really happy to be chatting with you.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited to talk to you. I must admit, definitely a bit nervous. You and Governor DeSantis are rock stars. You guys are helping shape culture. You are talking about many things that a lot of people are too afraid to say, talking about facts that unfortunately many people are afraid to talk about. So let's just jump right on in there because I want to be respectful of your time. So I have a quote for you from healthychildren.org. It says that masks are made from breathable materials that will not block the oxygen your child needs. Masks have not been shown to affect a child's ability to focus or learn in school. The vast majority of children age 2 or older can safely wear masks for extended periods of time, such as during preschool or at childcare. This includes most children with uh, special healthcare needs. So, what is your response to this kind of thinking, and what is the evidence that this is true, or the lack of evidence?
Yeah. So I don't even know where to start with that statement. But there are almost two ways that I can answer it. So I can put on my science hat, and with that hat, the question is, let's not even go to the area of is this an appropriate thing to even be pushing, to be encouraging children to do, but does this help the kid? Does this help kids? Like, how do you
Mhm.
know it's helping kids? Where's your data? And there we actually have a good answer, which is that the data don't show that it helps kids at all, like nothing.
Mm,
So in that age group, basically the highest quality evidence that we have doesn't show a benefit. So
mhm.
why are we even entertaining this act of trying to control what their face appears like and their comfort level, making them
Mhm.
uncomfortable? So that's my science hat. So you
Mhm.
take off my science hat and I put my dad hat on, and
Mhm.
I'm just like, I just can't help but scream out, what is wrong with these people, and what are they thinking? So
Right.
they, they use some carefully chosen words. You said that, I think they said the masks have not been shown to harm, but well, that's like me saying that, like, that it has not been shown that jumping off the top of this building at Department of Health is like harmful to your, is going to hurt you. Like, no, it hasn't
Mhm.
been shown. That has not been shown. That's correct, but
Right.
it doesn't mean that it's a good idea to do it. So there's some carefully crafted language there. But
Mhm.
even more importantly, I mean, I know that many parents are, um, we really shouldn't even have to go beyond the fact that there's no strong scientific rationale for putting this burden on children. But
Mhm.
hey, if we go beyond that, we enter an area where basically for many parents, this group is trying to make parents comfortable with something that they're not comfortable with.
Mhm.
And for many of us parents, we're not comfortable with it at an intuitive level. Like, it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't
Right.
feel like something that's a good idea, that's going to benefit our kids. In fact, it feels harmful for
Mhm.
many parents. And from that perspective, I just have to say no, thank you. Keep your ideas. Wonderful that you're happy to do it, but no thanks. That's not normal. I don't think that's healthy. That's what my parental intuition is saying, and
Mhm.
I don't want to participate in it. And thanks, but no thanks for trying to normalize something that is absolutely not normal.
That is so true. I know every time I saw my children with a mask on, it did feel like it was something inside of me that felt wrong. Not being able to see them smile, not being able to, especially my youngest daughter, she's a special needs child. She had speech delays, and that was like one of the things that was constantly playing in my mind, as a mother. But I do want to talk a little bit about, you did mention you as a father. You have three children, I think. Is it two or three?
We've got three. We have three boys.
Three boys. Wow. My little sister has five boys. So God bless you. Yes.
My goodness.
So how did you put on your science hat and you have your father hat, and you have your husband hat, we wear all these roles. How did you handle COVID as a parent? I know you mentioned just things didn't seem right and you had your instincts, but what other things did you do, not do, thought were crazy, as a parent?
Yeah. So when the schools shut down, we were in Los Angeles at the time, and our kids at the time were 6, 3, and 1. So we had a toddler, a 3-year old, and a 6-year old. And so the first thing was, my wife and I, when Los Angeles, the stay-at-home order was in place, we couldn't do that. So, we were in a condo in Los Angeles with 3 boys.
Mm.
That's like, if you want to like die young, yes, try to keep that,
Right.
see how that goes. So,
Yeah.
so every day we'd, and then the other thing that they were trying to do was the remote learning. And
Mm.
my wife was like, no way, we're not doing that. It's not good for the kids to be sitting in front of the computer. So she was just like absolutely insisted no. And I actually was like, oh honey, should we like do a little bit of it? She was like,
Mhm.
no. And and thank goodness for my wife, right? And for moms who so
Mhm.
often know what's good for their kids and not.
Mhm.
And so first I called the school and the teacher and I kind of gave an excuse for why we couldn't do the video stuff. And
Yeah.
she basically said that, okay, just don't tell anyone that we're going to let you like not do it. So,
Wow.
we would get the assignments, and what we ended up doing is that every morning, like for the first few months, every morning I would take them to the park, and we just walked down to the park, Barrington Park, actually, in the Brentwood neighborhood, and
Mhm.
it's a great park, And I take the boys to the park. Brianna, my wife, would buy, like, we were buying different toys on, footballs and other
Mm.
balls and radio controlled cars so that they
Yeah.
could play. And, so we'd do that for the first half of the day. And in the second half of the day, we had a babysitter do some teaching, and I would work
Mhm.
basically the second half of the day, and I'd work in the evening. When I didn't have to work in the hospital, I could do a lot of my work from home.
Mhm.
So, we were doing that, and it was, we were making the best of it. And we basically we did that for the rest of the school year. And
Mhm.
then Los Angeles stayed closed when the fall of
Yep.
2020 came. So we kept doing that. And then when they finally decided to quote unquote reopen,
Mhm.
they adopted the prison lockdown model.
Oh,
So the kids had, it was, I don't know, it was like twice a week testing, the masks, maintain distance from other children, and
yeah.
other symptoms of lunacy. So, we were like,
True.
we will continue to not participate in this. So at that point, we just filed a request that like our kids weren't going to come back. We're putting them out of school,
Mhm.
and we found some other parents in Los Angeles that felt the same way. And there weren't many, unfortunately, but we did find some others that felt the same way.
Mhm.
So we all moved. And some of them were really organized, a lot of very high powered moms. And they
Yeah.
started this like basically homeschool, but it was basically, get a bunch of kids together and they hired a teacher.
Mhm.
And so we were about a week away. It sort of enrolled and all that. And we were about a week away from starting when I got the call from the governor's office to for our great governor to come and be Surgeon General. So we ended up.
That's, oh my gosh. I had no clue. First of all, kudos to your wife for being so, upfront and seeing that that was awful for you guys as children. So shout out to your wife for that. That's amazing. And that, the community of parents and moms that just came together to say, okay, we've got to do something better for our children. And oh my gosh, that's such a mom thing to do. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? That is such like a good network of mothers and parents, community coming together and saying, hey, how can we make sure that our kids don't fall behind and that they get everything that they need. Oh my, that is so inspiring, Dr.
Yeah,
Ladapo. That
they
is
were
really, really cool.
they were
um
amazing women. I mean, I honestly just amazing women.
Wow, that I hope that that gives hope to a lot of other parents out there who maybe, because some places are still, they're still masked up. I'm not sure about the lockdowns, but I think there are some places that are still they're still not free, you know. I think in California, yeah, they still have some lockdowns, if I'm not mistaken. But I know Pennsylvania is they're reinstating their mask mandates. So there are certainly so many places that are not free, and so that is hopefully that can give hope to a lot of families out there. Really quickly, so you get this call from the governor's office. So what can you tell us a little bit about your background, your what's your expertise and how did you even get a call from the nation's best governor to come be
Yeah,
the Surgeon
yeah,
General?
yeah. He sure is. The only one I would work for. Actually, I think the only one I would have said yes to, with the invitation.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a physician, and I have a background in research. So technically, I'm a clinical researcher,
Mhm.
and so I used to take care of patients at UCLA, about 20% of my time, and the rest of my time was spent on research. And specifically, I I was leading a few clinical trials. So clinical trials mostly focused in cardiovascular disease prevention,
Hmm.
and I have expertise in research science from training and graduate school.
Very nice. So you are originally from, is it Nigeria, I want to
I was
say?
born in Nigeria. Yeah,
That's so cool. So it's always cool to get a perspective from people. How long did you live there? Well, how long have you been here, I should say, before I ask this
I
question?
lived there. I think we moved here when I was about 5,
Okay.
and I'm
Okay.
43 now. So
Yeah. Okay. But your family that still lives there, or, what do you see like that America as far as, education, being a doctor here, seeing how things are done in other countries. What do you see that is probably the biggest difference in like the American way of education? If you could pontificate on that.
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna butcher his name, but I think it was Charles Cromather. I'm butchering his name, but
Mhm.
he was actually a doctor, and he passed away a few years ago. And he basically he was a doctor. He was paralyzed during maybe residency. He was a psychiatrist, and eventually he mostly was a political commentator. And
Mhm.
he said something really beautiful, which is that America is the only country. I don't know that this is the truth for fact, but he said that America is the only country that's based on an idea. So you can actually have an America in other places, like if the ideas are adopted.
Mhm.
And I mean, I think it's a reflection of God and God's blessings that this idea of really putting a lot of recognizing the importance of the individual,
Mhm.
and individual autonomy, freedom, and all that can come from that in terms of the possibilities from freedom, and just trying to put in enough guardrails so that that was protected, and that there's enough structure so that things are orderly in terms of
Yeah.
the government's role, and at the same time sort of limiting that, because the wise men who founded this country, were very clear that the tendency for power is for accrual of more of it, and
Mm,
not less of it. Men who understood the motivations of men, started
yeah.
this country, and it's just very special. And I believe that model in other places would yield similarly fantastic results. Unfortunately, it's not been something that most of the world has been able to gain access to for a combination of different reasons. But this is a very special place.
Absolutely. And I think that is why when we see Governor DeSantis fighting so hard to keep the freedoms that were so hard fought for, it is so endearing to many of us because when you don't have freedom, I mean, everything starts there. You know what I mean? Being able to think for yourself, being able to do life how you see fit to do your own life, it is precious. And when that's on the verge of being taken away, um it's really unfortunate, especially in a place like America. And speaking of freedoms and being and the individual and liberty and those types of things, when COVID happened, it seemed like, and this is just my opinion, it seemed like it was an expose on all of these Americans who look to these doctors, the experts, and we just all kind of did whatever they said, whatever they said to do, regardless of if it made sense, regardless of if it was, like an instinct of us to do something different. So many people blindly followed what they were putting out. And I was thinking about, what they must have learned in medical school, like the doctors who were getting their advice from the CDC and the FDA and all that, of how to treat this disease. And it seemed like the medical curiosity was just gone. Anybody who said anything that wasn't, aligned was shut down, or just all these people just kind of, even the doctors, I thought there was supposed to be like some kind of scientific curiosity, some medical curiosity or something that, is that not taught anymore? Like, why were so many doctors and people just so willing to do whatever came down from the state?
Yeah, that's a great question, Keisha, and I had the same observation. And I feel like there were many things happening at once.
Mhm,
Doctors truly are sort of instinctively a group of people that want to help other people.
mhm,
So there was a component of that. Um, but that doesn't you can want to help other people and still want to be curious, and in fact sometimes you have to be curious
mhm.
to be able to actually effectively help other people. So I think that there was a component of that. However, I think that a lot of that became hijacked by, I don't know, almost sort of like um, sort of a hero wish or something. I mean, I felt
Mm,
like watching some of my colleagues on television, I felt distinctly like they were relishing the attention, and that, the attention was giving them meaning and kind of feeding their ego.
mm,
And with that, anytime that happens, people lose connection with reality. They lose connection with themselves and what they actually believe and think.
yeah.
And they're basically vulnerable. They're vulnerable to being sort of being manipulated, and basically serving the agenda of other people. And in this particular case, I think that did happen with some doctors. As doctors generally know how to read scientific evidence. I mean, the stuff with the mask it's obvious. Like, to claim that it's definitely beneficial. That's you can't possibly do that rationally
Mhm.
with a scientific perspective. But you had doctors on television, shouting that from mountaintops. And I do think that there was some, sort of being caught in the moment.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, people actually care about what I'm saying and people are going to listen to me. I think that there was some of that for some of the doctors.
I see. Yeah, I didn't think about that part, but I definitely see what you're saying, particularly, and I'm just going to say, Dr. Fauci, he seemed to, because it seemed like at first he was like, okay, he said, masks are not really going to help you. He literally said this. And then I don't know, it was all of a sudden the mask became not only one mask, now you need to wear 2 or 3 masks. You know, so I mean, and he just kept going further and further down this rabbit hole. And I think that I agree. Like there was some, yeah, like I'm the superhero and everybody's gonna listen to me. There we go again with that power thing, that can just take hold of you, when you're not when you don't keep yourself in check. And when everybody's sort of like bowing down to everything that you say and you have like control over all these people, it's very weird. It's very like worshipy in a little way. It's that's not that's not good to do, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be harmful if people could handle it. The sort of some of the physicians on television, the local public health officials, or public health officials at the state level. But I think many of them couldn't. From what I observed, many of them couldn't handle it,
Mhm.
and sort of became lost in it and lost their direction because of that.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say, it is such an honor to speak with you and for being so bold and courageous in a time like this, because leadership, just over the last several years, has really not been there. So to see Governor DeSantis, to see you, to see others who are taking that step to say, this is wrong, you are making history. I'm sure you probably don't even think about it like this, but when the history books are written about this period of time, Governor DeSantis, Dr. Ladapo, you will be among the people who said this is wrong when all of these other people would not stand up for parents, would not stand up for children. When people were so afraid to say what was right. So I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, and for so many other parents that I know around the country and just concerned citizens, thank you. Thank you so much for everything that you guys have done and are continuing to do.
Those are super kind words, Keisha. Thank you. And I mean, from the bottom of my heart, you are totally welcome. And I'm glad that I can, I'm glad I can do something that is helpful. And I'm really happy to do that during, it's just in some ways, it's such a sad time that so many people have had to suffer in so many ways, because, leaders either couldn't recognize that, with the exception, frankly, of Governor DeSantis, who's had very clear vision throughout the whole time, but either couldn't recognize what was the better decision, or recognized it but were too afraid to say something. So thank you very much. Those are very kind words. Thank you, and much love to you too.
Well, thank you so much. I know that our audience is going to get so much from this conversation. So, can you share with us anything that your office has coming up that Florida citizens should know about?
Well, I really like working on weight loss for obesity, and I really like working on smoking cessation. I also like working on HIV. So those are three areas that are high priorities for me, and we'll have some cool stuff coming out related to smoking cessation and also related to weight loss that we're working on. So hopefully, we can amp up our efforts here, our public health efforts in those areas.
Absolutely. I know I could use some extra workout time. So I'm sure there are plenty of mothers out there, plenty of people who need the extra advice on working out and getting ourselves in shape. So thank you for that.
Cool, cool. So
Well,
hard
thank
to
you.
spend time.
Thank you so much, everybody. I hope you got some valuable information from this episode. As usual, you can go. I will put the link below on how you can find Dr. Ladapo's office and where you can send questions if you are a Floridian and you need to ask the Surgeon General in his office some things that's going on in your counties and around the state. So thank you again, Dr. Ladapo, for joining us.
All right. Thanks. Thanks, Keisha.